17th, 2023, up here at Third Floor Studios, and I'm going to try not to cry.
Woo! It's gonna be hard.
As we get going here. Everything about One of 11 Productions and Third Floor Studios, and sharing with others, basically talking to myself and anyone else that happens to listen. This was all, I was inspired, as I have been my whole life, by our mother and father and my 10 amazing siblings. In my mind, the most perfectly imperfect group of people on the planet. And I hope everybody feels that way about their loved ones. And I've always wanted to share what I've learned with and from each of them. So today's a very exciting day for me, since I'm talking to myself. And we are here. I'm number 6.
I'm number 11.
And William is number 11. William, if you have not met him before, is a prolific writer, a very deep thinker. My precious, precious friend, Charlie Atchison, in heaven above, used to call William our wordsmith. And that's going to make me cry too.
Be hard to get through this.
And when I was wondering, it's hard. I don't know if any of you all have ever had conversations that you've taped with your brothers and sisters or people that you love so much. When William and I talked about doing this, from the get-go, I knew that whatever we talked to when we started visiting, that it would be about fishing.
Yeah.
Fishing is an enormous part of our lives, every single solitary one of us. And William had what we all think is a great gift, and Lord knows I know he thinks so. He had probably the most time with mom and dad alone than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because there was a bigger gap between numbers 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. So we're here this morning, and I hope that William, will just share with us kind of where he is now and how fishing and his experience as number 11 has impacted where he is today and where he hopes to go, and really and truly just whatever you want to tell us, because he's the writer. So thanks for being here, William. I love you a lot, and I'm really glad you're here.
Me too. Me too.
So you get to just go.
Oh, Lord. That's a hard task. No, fishing is, as you know, is a huge part of our lives, and it, it's really all of mine. I started going fishing. I started dreaming about going fishing when I was 3. And when I was 5, they couldn't keep me away. And we started, walking the North Jetty, really, as you did, and our whole family did, carrying all those tackle boxes and ice boxes down the rocks. And, I fell in between quite a few of them, as you might know. One of the favorite stories of Bub and John is the old sheepshead fisherman hollering, "Hey, wait a minute, y'all left one back here." So I fell in between the rocks and couldn't get out. But, I think about this a lot, and I think about life and where I am and all that stuff, and I'm in a pretty good place. I don't have any complaints, as all of us. I've had my ups and downs, and, when I think about the Galveston jetties and think about walking them, I think about walking the rocks and what that means for life. A little kid, and there's a very smooth path out there to start the walk on the jetties, and you get about a quarter mile down, and the rocks start, the boulders start. And, there's cracks in between.
Oh, yeah.
And when your legs aren't long enough, sometimes you fall.
Mm.
And when I just think about the parallels between fishing and life and that walk out those rocks, I mean, it's one and the same. Born with no cares at all, no worries at all, even though we didn't have any money or anything like that. I didn't know. None of us knew. And you start to find things out, and you start to figure out it's not that easy when you get to that first boulder, and you start walking out there, and you just start to realize that things are going to change, and eventually you realize they're going to be okay when they change. And so when I think about fishing and I think about just walking those rocks and just waking up and getting going, I think about how it parallels life. And when I sat down and thought a little bit about talking to you today, I thought about so many things. It was so cool to sit around and just think about and all these incredible trips, but it was always an adventure. And there was always something new. And I think, bringing it back to like what you said, where I am today in life, because we were always doing something new and in nature, there wasn't any fear. There wasn't anything to be afraid of. Because of Dad. You just couldn't be afraid around him because he wasn't afraid of anything. He was afraid of everything and not afraid of anything at all.
Oh, yeah.
And so we did a lot of crazy, crazy stuff that people just don't get to do. When I think about being 5 years old and walking down those rocks and falling through them and getting left and getting cut on barnacles and Dad falling in the water and,
I hate to laugh. It's very dangerous.
Very, very dangerous. We did a lot of dangerous things. It's just a wonderful adventure. And that's what life is. And I think that where I am today, I don't know where I am today. I know I got a wonderful woman in my life sitting over there. And a lot of wonderful friends and family. And, I think I experience more and do more because of all the adventures we had when we were young and what we did. I mean, I think about the things that I've seen, and if I bring it back to the water and fishing, not many people have walked out into the surf and just seen it glow and try to figure out what it is and realize that you're standing in a bunch of eels that had just had their babies and you're right there in the middle of them. Not many people have caught 50 trout and 100 sharks at the same time while you walked in the water with them. Not many people would want to know that they were walking in the water with all those sharks, but...
More and more dangerous.
We did it. We didn't have a boat when it all started, and until Dad went out and picked up the Stella, which is a little 12-foot, John boat. So, today I have a boat, and it never works. Thank you, Bubba. But it's just different. We started walking in the water and walking on the rocks and finding places that we could be without a mode of transportation until we got that little bitty John boat.
Mm-hmm.
And in that little boat, we'd put Dad would put 4 of his boys in that thing, 5 of us in a 12-foot long boat.
It was very dangerous. I was in that boat when we were running from a storm, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we never ran from them. I think that brings a pretty good point up. Because we were so minimalistic, or what we had was so minimal and, simplistic. When those big storms would come up, we were out there. Once you were out there in nature, there wasn't any running.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think, when I think about lessons learned and tying it all back to, to fishing, one of the things I think about a lot is, when there is a storm, you can't run from it. You got to go through it. You got to weather it. And, I never knew how, crazy, how close, what that would mean for my life. I didn't understand how much I would, bring from that or gather from that as an adult. That you just have to fight through storms of life, as opposed to running from them. And, I've thought about that a lot. And, out there on those jetties, we would be stuck. I'll tell you one story. We were all out we were wade fishing. We were on the jetty. We had the Stella with us, and we could see the water spouts coming down. So we could see the tornadoes coming. And we'd laugh about it, and we'd say, "Dad, what are we going to do?" He said, "Well, we can't do anything. We're just going to ride it out." And as we watched that water spout, back when I had hair, I looked over and everybody's hair was standing on end, and the electricity was so high in the air that our lines were actually looping. You'd throw a cast, the lines would stay in the air because the electricity was holding.
Beautiful.
That up in the beautiful, but you're talking about dangerous.
It's so beautiful. I wasn't there. I'm not scared.
And you know what? I wouldn't either. And that's kind of getting back to, first of all, I didn't know any better.
Right.
But really and truly, it was being with Dad. I mean, he, a man who had lived through so much, being wounded twice in World War II, just thinking he was going to die basically every day. What's a little lightning going to do to you? Nothing. And that's the feeling, that he imparted when you were with him, was that great confidence. So I know I'm going all over the board, but
I love it.
I think the whole part about the storms of life and the things that we did, because we wanted to, and then once we were there, we had to. There wasn't any avoiding the truth. There wasn't any avoiding the storm. There was no running away, And if I think about life and I think about all the crazy stuff that, I've done and been through, and troubles that seem like they weren't going to pass, I look back on that and I said, there's only one way to do this, and it's to go through it. It's to take it on head on, to give it all to God, and do the best I can.
Well, what that brings up to me is you never know what you're preparing for.
That's right.
And every experience we have, all from when we're 5, clearly before that, but to now, it is, we're laying tracks, if you will, preparing for whatever comes next. And it's funny you say that Dad never ran from the storms. All I know is one time we were out in that little boat, and there were way too many of us in it.
Oh, always.
And I thought, this is wonderful, because all we all wanted to do was get out there on that water with Dad. But I did like it when Mother was close to shore. I felt better because she was going to kind of keep him in, the boundaries of living.
Yes, well.
Anyway, we, and see, she wasn't with y'all a lot.
We didn't always tell her everything.
That's what I know. And we were coming in, and this storm, Dad said, "Oh, it's so far out there. Don't worry." And I said, water's getting a little bit rough. And I was young.
Right.
And the next thing I know, he said, maybe we'll go towards shore.
You a little closer.
And we were just riding, because that was a small boat.
Oh yeah.
We were riding. But still to this day, it's one of the most wonderful, thrilling experiences I've ever had in my whole life. And it was, since we survived, it was wonderful.
Exactly.
As many of those storms.
As long as we survive.
Well, let me ask you something, William. Being number 11, so let's think about that. You've been crabbing and fishing with every single solitary sibling and mom and dad, correct?
Yep.
And what is it, well, I won't share what it's like for me, but what is it like getting in the car with who knows how many other siblings, packed up hot probably, heading down there and getting on the water? I have a feeling, the feeling of being on the water when you're not there can bring calm to your life and just a whole different perspective of what you're doing each day, correct?
Oh yeah. So, when I can't sleep, which is a lot, my mind goes pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
I think about arriving at the Bolivar Pocket, which Bolivar Pocket is in the Bolivar Peninsula, and we would always park there, unload the boat, and we would wade fish across the pocket to the jetties. And when I can't sleep at night, I think about, there weren't really waves there because we were really, really protected in the pocket, but the lapping of the water on the shore. Mm-hmm. And, from the time, I couldn't sleep when I was young because I couldn't wait to get up. I couldn't wait to go fishing. Couldn't wait to be with all y'all. I couldn't wait to walk with Dad and not say anything. Because I just dreamed the whole time. And I still do. When I get ready to go fishing, when I wake up, every one of y'all are with me. And Dad is. And you brought it up earlier, and I was extremely lucky to be so young in relation to all y'all, and basically 6 years younger than John is about where I fall. And so Dad and I did a lot of that, just the two of us. And I wrote more stories in my head just with the two of us just walking in the water. Yeah, I spent more time with that man than probably anybody I have still to this day, my whole life. And 90% of that, we didn't say a word. And, I dreamed about what he was dreaming. Could only think about what he was thinking because of all the things that he had done. And I just could never, although I imagined everything, I couldn't imagine what he was thinking.
Right.
And it was really cool. I think if you come right down to it, I'm a dreamer because I spend every day dreaming. And, that's what fishing is, to me. It's just a peace and calm and, a communion with the fish themselves and Mother Earth and the moon and the stars and the rising and setting sun. And it's everything. So, that feeling from waking up, your original question was, take me through waking up and driving down that road. Carrie and I did it the other day, just driving down and going over the bridge, and who could see the water first?
Who could see the water first?
You know, and I made her do it the other day.
Who saw it first?
I did, of course. But I had a leg up. But anyway, it's just, it really and truly, you know, now looking back on all that, it allows me to think about every single person in my life. It allows me to think about Dad. I mean, I still have these incredible conversations with him when I'm awake and when I'm asleep. Mm-hmm. And I can draw from all of that. And there's so many funny, scary, heartwarming, and heartbreaking stories from all of that time in our lives. And every time I get up to go, they all come flooding back. Mm-hmm. So, the feeling is just one of being thankful, really.
So it's become a tool for you when you need peace and calm.
100%.
To go there.
Absolutely.
And as I talk to myself and to you about all of this, you have a lot of what you write about involves these experiences fishing with Dad.
Yeah.
And how that you relate to that today. Mm-hmm. So would you say that in your professional life that you use the tools from fishing and from those experiences with Dad as well? Or do you feel it is more that that's separate?
I don't think it's separate. I hope it's not. Because, I fell into my professional life just because I needed something to do. I was going to go to law school, and somebody said, well, why don't you come sell something? Houston did. Houston Johnson did. And turns out I was good at it.
Turns out you're good at it.
But I was, I think I was good at it because I was good at relating to people. And I was good at relating to people because even though I talk too much, I do listen pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
And I listen well, I think, because I was silent so much of my life, meaning out there fishing. And I was listening for the birds, and I was listening for the splash, that might indicate that there was a fish there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was paying attention to the birds, chasing bait or whatever it might be. And so in my professional life, you think about selling something to somebody, you got to know what they want. And you don't know that by telling them what you have to sell.
Absolutely.
You know that by listening to what they need and listening to where they're chasing the bait and looking to where to throw, the cast. So I've never really thought about it until you asked me the question, but I think it's helped me very, very much in that. It also helps me to calm down, just in general. I run hot, cold, run real hot, real cold, and to pull myself out of a situation, I got to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to be quiet. And,
and you got to be still.
You got to be still. Yeah.
When you're fishing, you got to be still.
Mm-hmm. Very patient.
Okay, that brings up a question. Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself a patient person?
No. Not at all.
There's the trouble.
No, I'm not patient at all. I I like to get stuff done, and I like it to get it done quick so that I can go and have some fun.
Absolutely.
But I have a hard time with people that don't get it pretty quick. So, no, I'm not a patient person at all, but I would like to be more patient.
Oh, God. Back to Charlie. You know what he said? He used to pray to become patient. And he said, I stopped praying that because what it turned out is I felt like God said, well, I'm going to give you more opportunities. And he said, I didn't want any more opportunities.
Exactly.
It was like, okay, let me think about this. What do I really want here?
Yeah. Careful what you ask for.
However, I think it's, I am very patient about some things. And in other areas, completely, there's just not a bit of patience, right?
Right.
I do believe that it is important to recognize that.
Sure.
And then come back to these things that you're bringing up. Breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Be still.
Mm-hmm.
Get outside.
Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself to become peaceful and calm. And it's amazing. I think about all of us fishing with Dad, in particular, the two of y'all fishing. And I can't imagine the noise that was going on
Mm-hmm.
from all of the things that actually needed to be done,
Right.
regardless of what you want to get done.
Right.
With 11 children. And how old was Dad when you were born? Can you remember
48.
that? 48.
Mm-hmm. Mom was 45.
I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And you've said many times, I can't even believe I'm here.
Oh, it's just the odds are pretty low.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it is incredible to me that Dad and Mom, because let's face it, and the reason I say Mom every time is because when you talk to Dad about himself, he never spoke about himself without speaking about Mom.
That's right.
And I always loved that.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about things that are possible, and they really did always put each other first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before I go off on just who knows what kind of tangents, I'm going to stop that for a minute and go back to your fishing trip. Because one of my favorite stories and visuals, because I witnessed it, when you were very young and way too young to be able to go out and do the wade fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Dad would tie a rope. I would be on the jetties. He'd drop us off and get us set up, and then you'd be in that boat, and Dad would tie a rope around his waist so you could go out with him so that he could take care of the youngest, who, if a big wave came up or anything like that, you needed to be nearer to him.
Yeah.
Can you remember being in that little boat and him taking you out there?
Oh, yeah. We got that boat for a couple of reasons, and one was because I was too little to make it through the guts and the pocket. So when everybody else would wade fish, I would sit in the boat and fish from the boat. It was good to be the king.
Yeah.
But
How's it feel now?
pretty good. Pretty good. Y'all getting so old. But anyway.
We're so damn old.
But the two reasons, yes, it was for my transportation, but also we couldn't get out past the boat cut, and we knew there was more fish out there, so we needed a little ride across that little depth. But no, I remember so much about that little boat and about being with him, and just I could tell you a million different stories very specifically about that boat. But one I will tell is when we get in that we'd wade across the flat. It'd be time to go out deep on the jetty, and we'd all jump in, and somebody'd hold down the side so that it didn't flip over, and they'd got to jump in. Well, my seat was always in the front of the boat, whether it was just the two of us or all of us. because I was the lightest, and we could get the boat on plane right because of me being in front. And I would hang onto that anchor rope. I'd grab that anchor rope and wrap it around my hand, and as we went over the waves, I'd play like I was riding a bucking bronco,
Of course.
and wrapping that Latigo around my hand and riding that horse. That little boat's my friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I lived a lot of life in that thing,
Mm-hmm.
in that very small space,
Mm-hmm.
in that giant world, that giant ocean.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to somehow put it out there, but if people wanted to, I want to start with this. If people wanted to read some of the things that you write, that you share with all of us,
Yeah.
how do they do that? They just follow you on?
Well, I do a lot of stuff, and I've got to be better about it. I do have a blog. Well, we'll have to figure out what it's called. It's either Wandering with Will or Will Wandering. I don't know. But I don't put everything out there, and I need
Right.
to get better about it. I write a lot on Facebook. I write about life, emotional stuff, whatever happens to come up that day.
Right.
But you follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Blogspot, and we'll get you all details later.
Yeah, I'll
be
put
better.
all
I'll
that
be better at that. We'll let Carol figure that out for me.
Oh, Lord. Okay, and I do want to brag a little bit. Not only of course, I think William's an incredible writer, and many people realize his talent. One of his stories about Dad actually was picked up for a Father's Day piece from Wildlife and what is it called?
Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Yeah, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and it's an incredible story. One that when William shared it with the family, I said, William, we got to make this a movie. Man, you have really, I could see the entire thing. And so hopefully that'll come to fruition. I'm looking at the storyboard over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really and truly, for this first wonderful moment up here, I appreciate you sharing where you get your peace and calm, where you need to go. Everyone goes through so much. It's a lot. I mean, it is a lot. And, I believe that we all have had experiences, yours being the story on fishing, that you can take the gifts from that and apply it, as you just said, professionally and personally, in your creative life, and share with those that you love, whether that's through writing or taking them fishing. Think about all the people you have taken fishing.
I've ruined a couple. I've kept them out there a little too long. But
Well, and not only did you probably keep them out there too long, you get terrible. I'm going to warn everyone, if you go fishing with William or any of my brothers, when you get the fish on the line, there is going to be a lot of instruction,
there's some hollering.
and a lot of cussing. Matter of fact, I think that's where I learned all my best.
All you bad words.
All my best bad cuss words. Anyway, for anybody that we're thrilled that you shared this moment with us, I want to say that the whole purpose of having these conversations is to share something of positive, something of hope that applies to everyone's lives. And, having this conversation with you, I ask this question to everyone else. Where is it in your life that you learned or you felt, and so you experienced peace and calm most often? And anytime that's not there, go to that place. First of all, go outside, go in the backyard. You know, Mom and Dad, we're so fortunate. You know, they were lovers of life and hilarious. We would sit and have breakfast and look in the backyard. And it was all about the birds and the azaleas and the shadows and the possum. And, you know, it was always about nature.
Right.
And so I just suggest to anyone that is listening, think about that today. You know, it doesn't take a long time. Just think about it. Beautiful memories. And if you're not feeling peace and calm, and if you're in the middle of a huge storm in your life, as William has shared here, the storm is coming.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have tools to allow us to be calm and peaceful during the storm as best possible. And be silent, breathe, go there in your mind, and know that the storm is also going to pass.
Yeah.
I really and truly, I hope we have so many of these conversations, and I hope that it touches people the way it touches me.
Yeah.
In a way that, you know, you can get to the middle of your studio with your precious brother, number 11, and it just get to the core of it, y'all. For us, as far as numbers go, not a whole lot of time left, but what is left, I hope we bring more peace and calm into our lives individually, and that we practice and we're aware if we're not promoting peace and calm, because a lot goes on. I do have a question.
All right.
When are you taking me fishing again?
Whenever you want to go. As soon as Bubba fixes the boat.
Okay,
No.
well, I think Magic's here, and we have to go take him. You know, y'all be looking out for William's story coming to life. We've been working on it, and then we put it aside because it's not perfect timing, but things are coming along.
Yeah, we got some good stuff coming.
Thank you, and I love you.
I
And
love you so much.
thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you for all the 11, but for this moment today with number 11. And I guess that's a wrap.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.